Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Big Dog Reacts. Yes, sir. Here right back with one of my original videos. I'm pretty sure nobody watched these. I mean, well, on my channel at least. But we're reacting on brutal deaths. Specifically today, the 9 worst executions around the world. Yes, sir. Yo, bro, one of my videos got 1,000 views. Thank you guys so much. I got 22 subscribers so far. Let's see if we keep this going, guys. I'm trying to drop consistently now. I think this is going to be my second video of the week. Hopefully I get to editing tomorrow. Don't procrastinate, bro. Please. But yeah, bro. Let's get to it, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe. And tell me how I'm doing. And let's get to it. Yes, sir.
Strapped tightly to the armrests of the electric chair. In just a second, a charge of about 2,000 volts was supposed to surge through his body, instantly stopping his heart. But then, something went horribly wrong. The machine malfunctioned. Instead of a quick death, Tefero burst into flames, screaming in agony. It took 3 more jolts of electricity to finally end his suffering. The most horrifying part is that...
No way, bro. Imagine thinking you're gonna die fast as shit, and you just ended up getting roasted like a freaking pork. Yo.
Later, it was revealed that he was innocent. What makes this even more chilling is the...
That's fucked up. He was innocent, my boy got roasted alive, boy. What the
friendly nickname of that very same chair, Old Sparky. In Florida alone, it was used to execute 239 people. And while most states have banned the electric chair, the death penalty itself is still legal, not just in the US, but worldwide. Yet, is it really humane? And why do some countries still use brutal...
I think the death penalty has its like pros, don't get me wrong. Anyways,
methods of execution. Let's dive in and find out. As always, viewer discretion is advised. Okay. Riverbend Maximum Security Institution, Nashville, Tennessee. Philip Workman was still asleep in the death house, the cell where inmates are taken 24 hours.
You hear that? You hear that?
Hours before their execution. Yet, how did he end up here? Philip was addicted to illegal substances. When he ran out of money, he decided to take a desperate risk. Armed, he stormed into a local Wendy's, demanding cash from the register. Later, he was sentenced to death.
Give me your money.
As of today, the death penalty is still legal in 27 states. But wait, do people really get executed for robbing a fast food place? Of course not. The death penalty is typically reserved for crimes like treason, espionage, large-scale drug trafficking, and murder. In Philip's case, during his escape with the stolen money, he lethally shot a police lieutenant, Ronald Oliver, who was trying to stop him.
Right away. No trial, no nothing. Right to jail, right away.
In many U.S.
Yo, bro, you know how brazen you gotta be to shoot a cop? Like, just get a job, bro. Like, is it that serious, bro? You deadass just shot a cop. It's clipped, bro. It's over. No getting out.
States, including Tennessee, killing a police officer is considered an aggravating factor, one that almost automatically makes the crime worthy of the death penalty, as it's seen as a direct threat to the state itself. Alabama introduced an alternative, nitrogen asphyxiation, where the inmate breathes pure nitrogen until they suffocate. State officials claim it's the most painless and humane execution method known to humankind. Yet after the very first execution using this method of convicted murderer Kenneth Smith, the European community was outraged.
Yo, the music in the background got me.
Especially since Kenneth had already gone through a failed execution attempt back in November, 2 years earlier. I'll get to that a bit later. Don't worry. Now hanging is even more...
Try to execute him already, bro, in the field. Bro, it's not meant to be. Let him out. Let him out.
The last U.S. state to abolish it was New Hampshire. More specifically, in 2019, the state banned the death penalty altogether. But prisoners who were already on death row before the law passed can still be executed. However, for Philip, the chosen method was the most common execution method in the U.S., lethal injection. 15 hours before the injection, Philip was woken up and given a standard prison breakfast, usually some oatmeal, an egg, and toast. 14 hours
you don't get a last meal?
Inmates are allowed to...
You don't get like a last meal type thing? Damn.
See their loved ones and are given 45 minutes for final phone calls. 12 hours before execution, inmates are served lunch. And one last request for the condemned is their final meal, which is served 6 hours before the execution.
Okay, so
there's
they do get a final meal.
Misconception that they can order anything, yet the budget is capped at $30, which, given today's prices, isn't really much at all. Researcher Ashley Lecker, in her work,
you get a lot for $30, I'm not gonna lie.
The Serial Killer's Cookbook, found that the most common last meal requests from death row inmates are fried chicken, steaks, and pies. However, do you know what killers' absolute favorite food is?
Ice cream.
Ice cream. Around 80% of inmates chose it.
I love ice cream. Watch it back.
From the killer, Robert Buell, who asked for just one black olive. On the other hand, Gary Carl
Black
Simmons
olive.
Jr. ordered a meal totaling 29,000 calories.
Damn.
He couldn't even finish it all.
What the 29,000 calories?
Philip Workman was one of the few inmates who refused the last meal altogether. Instead, he wanted to do something a little more honorable. He asked the officers to donate a vegetarian pizza to the homeless. The prison staff told him this wasn't part of the protocol. When the community learned about his request, they started ordering and delivering pizzas to the homeless. Unfortunately, Phil probably never knew. He was already being led to his execution. Meanwhile, outside the prison, people were there were suspicions that the police officer had been accidentally shot by another officer. During the investigation, even Phil himself claimed he had agreed to the sentence under pressure. Still, no one overturned the verdict. Workman was given a lethal injection consisting of 3 drugs, an anesthetic for pain relief, a paralyzing agent to stop his breathing.
Why they did that to my boy, bro? Life isn't fair sometimes.
And a toxic substance that causes the heart to stop. Ideally, the person passes away painlessly within minutes. Workman was lucky that everything went according to plan. That doesn't always happen, though. Williams, convicted of murdering his young lover and her mother, was awaiting...
So this isn't the only one I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna go on a little tandem of these little videos and obviously compress them. The little best clips I find, but executions is not really given for. They're not that, oh, I want to see some crazy shit.
His execution in the basement of the Ramsey County Jail. Williams was brought to the gallows. A rope was placed around his neck, and the trap door was opened beneath him. Suddenly, the condemned man fell through the trap door and slammed hard onto the floor below. The rope the sheriff had prepared turned out to be too long. The sheriff's assistants, stunned, rushed to the body and had to forcefully pull him up to complete the execution. It took a full 14 minutes, during which Williams writhed in his death agony. Everyone present was shocked by such a horrific sight. This botched execution sparked outrage among the public, but Minnesota abolished the death penalty only 5 years later. However, it remained in effect in other states. Mississippi, 1983. Jimmy Lee Gray, convicted of the horrific murder of a 3-year-old girl, was set to be executed in the
Take him to the gulag.
gas chamber. When the inmate was locked in and the lethal gas was released, instead of blacking out immediately, he began groaning and gasping for air. It was so horrifying that everyone in the observation room left. No one intervened. It's said you could hear him banging his head against the metal pole until, finally, silence fell. His execution lasted 8 minutes, which felt like an eternity. July 9th, 2022. Tomohiro Kato was led to his hanging, marking the culmination of one of the most notorious crimes in modern Japanese history. 14 years ago, Kato intentionally drove a truck into a crowd in the popular Akihabara district. After hitting several people, he exited the vehicle and began attacking pedestrians with a knife. A total of 7 people were killed, and 10 more were injured. Before this horrific incident, Kato had posted on online forums, expressing his frustration about having no friends and feeling abandoned by society. Later, he claimed that his life had no meaning, and that his actions were a protest.
So, I don't understand people like that. He says his life has no meaning. Let me cook. If his life had no meaning and he wanted to go out and take life, and his life didn't mean anything to him, so why didn't he take his?
Still, when I was searching for information about executions in different countries, one of the most shocking methods of execution is the use of death vans in China. China is indeed known for its high number of executions each year.
What's a death van? What's a death van? Did they line you up and hit you with a van in China? What's that?
Estimates suggesting over 1,000 people are sentenced to death annually. China allows fewer types.
1,000? Nah. Is China just that strict of a place, or are people just bugging in China?
张牙舞爪，健身操，祝您健康，步步高，溜达。
1,000 people?
Of executions in the U.S. These are shootings and lethal injections. Nonetheless, the punishment is carried out in an unconventional way. The death van arrives at the place where the prisoner is held. They are brought out and locked inside. Then the prisoner is secured to a special bed, and an injection is administered, which quickly leads to death.
Okay, so it was just a location switch up. Okay, that was gonna be something crazy. That execution was meh.
After the execution, the body is usually cremated, and and the relatives are informed about the execution. Chal-won, a North Korean defector who fled to China and then to South Korea, once told journalists about one of the executions in his dictatorial homeland. He himself wasn't present at this horrifying spectacle, but some went.
And this is why I'm glad I was born in America. Some of you guys talk so down on this country.
Witnesses told him the story. It was 2018. A crowd gathered to witness another public punishment of culprits. Suddenly, there was the roar of massive guns. In front of them stood two prisoners. Their mouths were literally filled with pieces of iron to add more agony to their execution. One horrifying moment.
Why?
They were already lying dead on the ground.
Damn.
At that moment, red stains appeared on the clothing of Kim Jong-un's uncle, Jang Song-taek. This caused shock and even stunned those watching the event with a certain indifference up until that point. Interestingly, he himself later became a victim of the regime and was executed using the same anti-aircraft gun. However, this was only the beginning of a purge. In the following
what the yo? I didn't realize they used a they used a tank to. Wow.
Including children were executed, and some were burned alive with
what his children got to do with it? What?
Flamethrowers, while others were torn apart by dogs. These actions were initiated by Kim Jong-un, who claimed they were for such cruelty. Let's take a look at Saudi Arabia. Every year, over 185 people are executed here, and the list of crimes punishable by death is astonishingly broad. From theft to apostasy, the methods are no less.
Theft can get you the death penalty, and apostasy, I don't know what that is, but it looks like maybe being sacrilegious or something. What the?
Shocking. Shooting, stoning, and even beheading. The latter is carried out using a yatagan, a large curved sword.
Is that a
it's often
machete?
a public spectacle as well. Mohammed Saeed al-Bashi, Saudi Arabia's chief executioner.
That guy, he looks like a scary Mario Bros. Like, it's me, I'm gonna murder you.
On one hand,
What can you do? That was the worst punishments around the world. It wasn't that crazy, but let's get on to the next video. Alright, guys, welcome to the next video on these brutal death clips. This one's history's most brutal pirate punishments. Let's see if this one's worse. I think it probably will. Pirates used to be bugging back in the day. You know, Jack Sparrow back in this shit, and like you know, like Blackbeard and Luffy. All them niggas used to be bugging back in the day.
into the ice-cold water. Your body's tightly attached to the ship with a rope. You're supposed to drown, but not right away. First, under the ship's keel, covered in sharp seashells and barnacles, cutting your skin. Later, the water gets inside your lungs, making breathing increasingly difficult. This is just one of the numerous cruel tortures that pirates and sailors underwent in the golden age of piracy. In this video, you'll find out about the most horrific methods of pirate torture of that time, as well as about the rules and laws, the violation of which called for these punishments.
Slap the shit out of his cheeks.
However, I'm warning you. As always, viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, whatever.
Imagine it's mid-18th century, and you're earning a living by piracy. You've had a tough day, so you and your pirate colleagues have decided to relax a little. You're singing 15 Men on a Dead Man's Chest. Rum is flowing, but after a few extra glasses, the fists are out, and you're pummeling a fellow crewman. The fight's brought to an end by the captain shouting, "Bring in the cat o' nine tails!" This might
The cat o' nine tails. What is this, Naruto?
sound funny, but the moment the cat is in the captain's hands, nobody's gonna be laughing. That's because the cat o' nine tails is a meter-long whip made of a hemp fabric with 9 knotted twines. Every knot on the twine ends was made to tear the skin, like the claws of an angry cat. The bosun's mate is standing behind you, slowly unraveling the whip's knotted twines, as if delaying the moment of the punishment, waiting for the crowd to come and watch the spectacle. When the captain swings the whip, it swooshes through the air. Its knotted ends plow into the skin, leaving deep grooves. The 30th swing is so unbearable that you go unconscious. However, you come right back around after the strike that follows.
Holy crap.
Drinking could be punished by 10 lashes, but fighting would get you 50.
What? So you can't even drink? 50 lashes?
More severe punishments were usually designated after an official military tribunal. The Royal Navy papers mentioned punishments of 200 lashes for desertion, 300 lashes for a mutant,
No. You could live through all that? That's crazy.
and up to 500 lashes for stealing. However, this punishment could befall not only a pirate, but also, for example, a prisoner of war. There are even witness records. A soldier who survived a similar punishment in 1832 said it felt like a knife piercing through his body. The pain in his lungs was more excruciating than in his back. He felt like his internal organs were about to burst. The soldier bit his tongue to keep himself from screaming and almost snapped it in half. He even almost choked to death. The soldier felt like his entire life was...
I think I feel like that's a bad, like, why would you bite your tongue?
nothing but endless pain. They say this punishment wasn't aimed at killing the culprit. However, I found the information according to which it could result in death.
Yeah, I would think,
For instance, because of the massive blood loss, or a heart attack caused by the unbearable pain. Hundreds of lacerations can also become open gates for bacteria, and there were no antibiotics at the time. In addition, even those who survived carried scars on their backs until the day they died. The Royal Navy had a lighter version of the cat o' nine tails for punishing cabin boys. It had only 5 tails made of smooth cords. The grown-up sailors were hit on their backs, while the boys were punished on their buttocks. However, both this cat and the cat o' nine tails weren't just a punishment. They were a show of intimidation for everyone. The next time you feel like taking a shot of rum or getting into a fight, remember, the sea doesn't forgive weakness.
Hasn't hitting somebody in the face
with
that?
By breaking some of the more serious pirate laws, your chances...
So imagine you're beefing with somebody, you just pull up with that 9-tail shit. Oof.
of survival after being tortured by the captain are even lower. It was really stupid of you to ignore what I just said and steal a silver compass from the captain's cabin. The theft was found out very quickly. The colleague you've recently beaten up while drunk didn't miss out on his chance to snitch you out to the captain. Your sentence is harsh. Keel hauling. You're stripped down to your shirt and pants. Your arms and legs are tightly bound by ropes, making all attempts at breaking free.
Hey, yo, what about... why they tied me down and bent me over and took off my clothes? What's going on? Hey, yo.
Impossible. They also tied a heavy chain, or a cannonball, to your feet, making sure you would sink under the water. Then, 2 long ropes are tied to your body, one from one side of the ship, and the other is threaded under the keel and strung tightly on the other side. You're thrown overboard, and the rope immediately pulls you below the surface.
So they're just drowning me with the weight of a boat on my back? Yo, bro, what? Bro, what were they on back in the day? Like, didn't he drown before he died? Oh, what if he's just drowning slowly and he's just going through the ocean hitting rocks?
You slide under the ship, skidding your back, arms, and legs against the hull, covered with hundreds of seashells, each razor sharp. Every moment causes you unbearable pain. Your body's covered in wounds. The salty water seeps into them, stinging so badly that it feels like you're being burned from the inside. You're screaming from pain, but the seawater's filling your lungs. You have to fight for every gulp of air.
Oh my gosh. Oof. That one would suck, just drowning. And you're just getting stabbed everywhere in the back. Just, bro, oof. That one was hurt.
If you're lucky enough to dive out of the water, even for a second. Some sources describe the culprit being given a chance to have some air by holding an oil-soaked sponge in their mouth. The oil created a water-repellent barrier that stopped water from getting in. Under the water, the victim could squeeze it with their teeth or tongue, producing a small dose of air for a short inhale. However, this method had nothing in common with mercy. On the contrary, it prolonged the suffering by making a person continue experiencing slow asphyxiation for longer. But that's not the last trial. You can feel something enormous approaching you rapidly from behind. Oh no, the blood from your wounds has attracted sharks.
Damn.
Luckily for you, the captain has decided you've had enough torture. You're lifted back to the deck and everyone's surprised you're still breathing. However, even if you manage to survive, you, just like most sailors after keel hauling, will most likely suffer from infections. Yet you could have died.
Yo, bro, it's instant death, like, back in those days. If you didn't die right there and then from the injuries or getting killed, obviously, that was some dickhead shit. Why did I just say that? The wounds, you're gonna get infected regardless, bro. You're just gonna die. It's over. Don't be a pirate, bro. Over here trying to be Luffy, king of the pirates and shit like that. Stop. Stop.